Hey guys, and welcome back to Runway from the Rev, a Project Runway podcast. My name is Riley.
And I'm Maggie.
And today we'll be discussing Season 16, Episode 3, A Leap of Innovation.
Mm-hmm.
So this week, they had to make a fashionable look inspired by dance, innovation, and movement. And to do that, they were shown a screening of the upcoming animated movie Leap.
Yep.
And then they also brought in hip lay dancers, which is hip-hop and ballet dancers combined, and they did a little demo of, like, traditional kind of ballet, and then they kind of broke it down. Mm-hmm. And that was to inspire the designers to help make a garment. What do you think of this premise?
I mean, I like the idea, because, I don't know, I like stuff that's about movement, like fashion that cares about movement.
Yeah, definitely.
It makes for a way more interesting runway show. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know, and who doesn't like kids' movies?
True.
You know?
And it looked cute.
It did. It looked really cute.
And a good message of, dance. Do what you want to do. Be yourself.
The hip lay, I mean, it was cool. Those ladies are really talented.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, that didn't do too much for me. Because, like, it was so separate from, like, the movie part, you know?
I felt like they should have done one or the other. I understand that, like, Leap and the movie and probably that whole, like, production company was an advertiser. Yeah. But I would have preferred if they had gone, I mean, they're in New York. They could have gone to a ballet company or a dance studio or something and shown some longer of actual real dancing. I think I would have preferred that. But I think they've done dance in previous seasons, so maybe... Yeah. Since they've done that before, they're like, oh, we'll do it with the movie this time. But at least the movie was directly related to making a dance movement inspired piece. So, yeah. So, getting into the challenge then, they had $200 budget at Mood, and then they had a one-day challenge. Because we're still early in the season, so they like to do that.
Yeah.
So, let's get to the workroom.
Yeah.
So, I will preface this by saying this is the first episode, episode 3, where the twins were not the major focus of the episode, one or other, or both of them, and their talking head moments were few and far between this time. So that was kind of nice. Not to say they weren't in the show at all. Obviously they were, and obviously they still had their little moments. Mm-hmm. But in episodes 1 and 2, it was very twin heavy, and this time felt like we got to meet different designers, hear more about other folks. Yeah. In the workroom, I felt we got way more footage of other people than the twins.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
With that said, though, the first workroom moment was the twin pin drop.
Oh my God. Yes.
I think it was Claire, but it may have been Sean. They were like, do you have pins? And she's like, oh, I've got one. And then they, like, spilled it all over the place. And everybody in the room, which was just like, rolled their eyes. But after that, we didn't really get a lot of twin moments. They were, like, running around, and Sean, like, spilled water and, like, was dyeing fabric, and they were, like, slip-sliding around and annoying everybody. But really, that was, like, a minute or two.
Well, and there was the one thing with Kuds and I. He was just like, they're so loud.
Yes. People's reactions were still there, but it didn't feel like quite as much of a focus. Mm-hmm. I feel like we got to meet and learn more about Kudsunai and Kentaro and Michael, and even more about, like, Samantha and Margarita as well. So I just felt like we got to see, granted we were down a couple contestants, but it was just nice to be that it's like, okay, it's not just the twin show. They're still there, but they weren't as prominent, which I liked, and I think a lot of people will like, because a lot of people seem very annoyed by them.
Yeah.
Next up, there's just a few workroom highlights this week. Botany had some dance moves. Because she does, like, a bunch of different kinds of dance, and somebody in the room, I think it was Erin, was like, does anybody dance? And she's like, I do. And she was, like, working on her cape piece, and then she just stands up and just starts doing dancing. That looked just as cool, basically, as what they brought in those hip lay dancers. It was cool.
I was just like, what would the other way be? Bellhop.
I don't hate that. I don't hate it. Next up, we had Margarita and Michael. We saw them bonding a little bit because they both speak Spanish. So Michael is Mexican and then Margarita is from Puerto Rico. So that was kind of nice. Last season, we had a designer who spoke Spanish and felt alone a lot of the time. he kind of struggled, and then I think it was like in the last episode or second to last episode, one of the models turned out to speak Spanish, and he's like, where have you been this whole time? Like, why didn't you ever help me, like when I was struggling? And it was Roberry. So it's kind of nice to see two designers kind of bond over that shared culture and shared language, and they relied on each other quite a bit, so it was nice to see that friendship kind of form. Then we've got to mention it, and I have a strong phobia of medical needles. I found out while watching this episode that extends to sewing needles.
Oh my god.
Deontay was messing around with his sewing machine trying to lower like the foot that kind of holds the thread up, and he ended up sewing his finger. The needle pierced through his finger, not into, fully through his finger while he's working on his garment. The medic comes in, gets him all bandaged up, but obviously that's going to slow you down. It seemed to be on his left hand. I'm not sure if that's his dominant hand or not, but it's certainly going to impact your sewing and your construction.
Yeah.
He didn't really whine about it too much. We've seen people in previous episodes or seasons get hurt, and then it's like their big excuse. They all bring it up on the runway, obviously, because it did impact your work, but he wasn't like constantly like, he's like, yeah, it throbs, it hurts, but I'm making it work. But I could not watch that scene, and then they like replayed it again, and I was like hiding my eyes, like covering my ears. I was like, I can't. The needle on a sewing machine is gigantic. Little sewing needles don't bother me, because later on Margarita stabbed her model with pins on accident. That didn't really affect me. Now she got a little blood on her white garment, but it didn't turn out to be an issue. And then just another little workroom moment was Kudzanai was not helping his model put on the garment because he was like frantically working till the end to finish it, and his model was like struggling to put it on because it was so tight and her wig fell off. And that created a little bit of like, oh, gotta go back and get that like put back on and everything. So
yeah.
But otherwise, were there any other moments in the workroom for you?
No. And they spent like so much time. It felt to me like they spent a lot of time in the workroom this time.
They did. I agree. It felt like we were there. That's why I started writing notes down, because I just felt like there were so many moments that before, I guess because when you have 16 designers versus 14, you feel like there's no time to show everybody working. But I'm like, I feel like we got to see like Samantha, Kenya, everybody was having at least a moment. Yeah. Some better than others. We saw Sean and Claire both like fall on the ground and slip and slide.
I guess Brandon had his like Zen moments
where
he didn't want anyone to talk to him.
Well, and I can understand that, because when I get really focused or when the crunch is on, I just like to like put in music and just focus. And I know they're not allowed to listen to music in this, because obviously they want them to like talk to each other and everything. I'm not sure how I feel about the music and like the editing choice they decide. I'm fine with him calling it his Zen moments and being completely like focused and not wanting to be interrupted. I'm not sure about the show's choice to have like that weird ripple effect and then like this weird I'm just like, it seemed a little, I don't know, a little iffy to me. Like,
it's kind of
cheesy and also like borderline, I don't know. It rubbed me wrong, let's put it that way. Not what Brandon was doing, but how the show treated it. That didn't sit super well with me. But do you have anything else?
I don't think so.
There weren't really any mood moments. That's why I skipped right over that. There's one quote, and I'll get to it in a little bit, of Tim for our quotes of the week. But otherwise, they all were just running around, and we learned that Deontay has expensive taste.
Yeah, apparently.
Because he kept picking really expensive fabrics. So let's get right to the runway. So this week's guest was Maddie Ziegler. And she is a dancer. She used to be on the reality show Dance Moms. And she's also been in some Sia music videos. And she's a great little dancer and does quite a few different types of dance, it turns out. And then she's also starting to get into acting. She's a voice actress in the movie Leap, which was a nice tie-in to have like your guest kind of match, you know, your sponsor as it is. And then she's also kind of getting into fashion, it sounds like. So So first up down the runway was Kenya. I wish we got to hear more from Kenya. We got a little, but it would be nice. She just has a personality that I like, and we get like beat reactions from her, but I like to see more. So this week her outfit was a black and white patterned jacket with a jumpsuit that had like an open back, like a halter top jumpsuit, and it was this like chevron pattern that she used front ways, and then she also like back, like inside out, to make kind of panels. What do we think of Kenya's?
I liked it. It was really weird looking, but for some reason I like it. Like, I just thought she handled, to me, I don't know, I think chevron is probably really hard to work with, and I thought she did a good job of working with that. But I don't know, I didn't have extremely strong feelings about it. What about you?
I liked it too, and I think she worked with the pattern really well. Like, it looks like lined up and everything. I think it may have been more successful if she had used it a little less and used like a solid black or like another bold color, like maybe as the pants or like parts of the jacket, just to split it up a little bit. But I do like it. I like the jumpsuit more than the jacket.
I agree.
But otherwise, I didn't really have any problems with it. But she was safe.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Brandon, and he put down this like white t-shirt dress that had like these panels of like leather and then straps and things over a pretty simple little black dress. And then the makeup on this one, I want to point out, had like a gold stripe right down the center of her face.
That's right.
Yes. So what do we think of Brandon's?
This one, I don't know, like, I definitely didn't hate it, but I definitely didn't, like, love it. I mean, I don't know. I guess I just, as we'll see, like, I didn't feel as strongly as the judges felt.
The judges really, really loved it.
They did.
Especially Nina and Zach.
Yes. And, like, it was interesting to look at, but I don't know. I didn't really understand the makeup. I did like how it looked, just because I don't feel like I've ever seen that before. But I don't know. I don't understand, I guess, like, what was the point of it, though? I don't know.
The gold stripe?
Yeah, on the face.
Davon.
And, like, it was nice to see him, though, do something else besides, like, wide pants.
Yeah, well, and he got a smaller model this time, and so, yeah, he felt like he could work outside, like, back to his normal comfort zone, which is slightly oversized items. I thought the top, it's fine. It looks a little straitjackety to me. It looks like an undone straitjacket. It also kind of looks like she's wearing her dad's shirt or something. I like the kind of play of length and everything. I don't really like the part underneath. The black dress seems a little simple. It's like a black bandage dress with kind of a high neck. I think that would have been cool if it had some panels. And it's hard to tell on TV, you know, when they're not really super zoomed in. But I didn't dislike it. It's just, it's a little too high fashion for me. It's a little too out there. I don't see what it has anything to do with dance. I get movement and innovation, I guess, but I don't get the dance part.
Right.
Next up, we have Michael, and he made like a brocade kind of kimono jacket that she took off almost immediately.
Yeah.
I wish she'd left it on for a while because I
didn't
even get a look at it.
No.
And then underneath that was kind of this like blackish satin, I'm guessing, dress with like a tie belt and some straps, and then the sleeves were kind of, I don't know how to describe them.
Yeah.
Like panels. I don't know. What do we think of Michael's?
I mean, I agree completely about how she took the jacket off immediately. Like, I really wanted to see that, and I don't know. Is it in this picture? No,
it's on the ground.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't have a picture of it. But it was like a brocade with like black and like pale gold kind of.
Yeah.
And it had a belt tie, but I don't have a picture of it.
I mean, the underneath part, it's okay. I don't love it. To me, it's safe. I don't know. It's
very puckery. I guess that's the fabric, which is why I'm guessing it's some type of satin. Seems like every stitch line he did is like puckering. But I like the idea of the dress. Again, it's very Japanese inspired. Kind of looks like a mini kimono with like the sleeves cut right at the shoulder. That's probably the best way to describe that. Yeah. It's a little short. Again, I don't see the dance part so much. But I liked the styling of his model's hair, and it did have some nice movement in the back with some straps.
Yeah.
But to me, I'm sorry, Brandon was chosen for critique in the top, and Michael was safe.
Oh, yeah.
I forgot to mention that.
Okay.
Next up, we have Margarita, and she was inspired by bumba dancing, which is a Puerto Rican style of dance. So she made this white, for lack of a better term, like Latin style dress with like puff ruffle sleeves and then a ruffle kind of skirt that had like a red underside. And then she flipped it back to front, so the front became like this white tie across her chest. Luckily, she had a model with a small chest, because this would not have worked otherwise.
Right.
And then the back kind of came up a little higher. What'd you think of Margarita's?
I mean, I guess I liked it more on the runway, but I don't know. For me, it is very costumey still. Like, I don't feel like she was able to completely escape that. But I don't know. I like the little pops of red, like when the skirt moved. And I thought that was an interesting idea to turn the top around.
Well, they worked on this model.
Yeah, like you said, though, yeah, it had to be a very specific body type.
Yes.
In order to work, but I don't know. What do you think?
I liked the color. I liked that crisp, clean white. I feel like we don't see that very often, so I really liked that. And, like, the fabrics she chose were good, which I think, like, Nina also pointed out. Yeah. Maybe it was Zach.
It was Zach.
To me, though, it's hard because she is Puerto Rican, so is it really a costume that's derivative of a culture she's part of? I don't know. That's a nod. I don't know. But to me, it looks like a dance costume, and then she paired it with, like, a straw hat, which then it felt like a costume. I think if she'd done something different with the sleeves, and had them be less, like, puffy in the ruffle, it may have worked better.
Yeah.
Like, have a really, like, traditional skirt and then modernize the top even more than just, like, the front tie. Otherwise, I didn't dislike it. I get the dance, I get the movement, the innovation, I guess because she turned it back to front, but she was chosen for critique in the top.
Yeah. One more note on that, too, is that was cool that she, like, stuck to her guns. Because Tim Okay. Tim told her to get rid of the sleeves, didn't he?
Yeah, to rework them. Yep.
And
she stuck to her guns, and she was in the top.
She stayed true to that.
Next up, we had Deontay, and he put down, Kentaro called it pistachio. I'm calling it chartreuse.
Yeah. Like it's more of like a yellowish green, like a lime green sort of.
Yeah, but like somehow even more yellow than lime green. Like the chartreuse, and it's like a lace top dress, almost transparent, with like what they called it a mullet skirt.
Yeah.
Which perfectly describes this because it looks like it was cut on accident. And then it has like a neck ruffle at the top and then a long flowing skirt behind. But it's not like a mermaid cut skirt. No. It's a straight up mullet. What do we think of Deontay's?
Not my favorite. Not my favorite at all.
Yeah?
It, I don't know. It just read very like prom dress to me. The color was a bit much. Like, I probably agree with Kentaro on that. Not so much as pistachio. But
even Zach Posen, all he had to say about it was that it was vibrant.
Yeah.
Because the color was bold. He's lucky he got a model who skin tone kind of played with the color well.
Yeah, it didn't look bad.
I know that color on me as a paler person would just look like I had died. So.
Yeah, it just, I don't know. To me, the design wasn't very original, and it just, the mullet skirt. Not my favorite. Not my favorite cut. And, I don't know. I disagreed with the judges. They didn't like the like neck piece that he had on there. But I felt like without it, it was just nothing.
There was very little design here.
Yeah.
And the design that was there when the judges looked at it up close, it wasn't finished. It was pinned together. He had not like serged the edges or anything. No trim work was done on the top. Like she seemed to be like basically bursting out of the top, which isn't a look you want. And then the neck ruffle just came right off. It wasn't even attached. Yeah. So this was a fail for me. I kind of liked the longer part of the skirt, like in the back. It had some pretty movement. But with the weird front and then the misfitting top, and Lyris is a great model, and she's like, I'm going to work it, you know? Yeah. She's like, I'm going to do my best. But this, even a great model like Lyris could not save this. This was just a fail. He was chosen for critique in the bottom, so the judges agreed with us.
Yeah.
Next up we have Amy, and she made a striped, like light blue and then navy jumpsuit with this convertible, like black romper that had like this athletic, like stripe trim. And the romper started out as like its own little jumpsuit, like with the arms being the legs. And then she, on the runway, took it off, revealed the like blue striped jumpsuit, and then put the romper on the other way so the legs became arms and it was like a little top. Mm-hmm. What do we think of Amy's?
I'm not sure. I haven't gathered my thoughts on this one yet. Like, I don't know. There was definitely innovation there. Like, I would never have thought to, like, do something like that. Something that converts like that, you know? And I don't think I've ever seen anything, like, done like that before. So that was cool. And I liked the overall style of it. Like, it was just very sporty. And, I don't know, just kind of cool. Like, I liked the shoes that she chose. Like, I liked the overall styling that the choices that she made. But, I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan of, like, the blue underneath. Like, that piece. That was just, like, I don't know. Just a little bit bizarre to me. But, I don't know.
She did something because the convertible came off.
Well, yeah, so I know.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. You go ahead.
I feel like Amy does a lot of these, like, transforming kind of looks, and the judges never seem to notice or care, which is odd to me, because normally they love convertible kind of thing. Like, I remember last season, Erin made a couple convertible things, and they just, like, went gaga over it. I really like the black romper piece. I don't really like it when the arms were the pant legs, because it looks a little diapery, like in between, and then there's just a hole there, like the head hole is just hanging there.
Oh my god!
Which I know this is like a runway and it's just for the effect, so like you wouldn't sell that, but to me it's kind of weird. I liked it better as I like the top of it when it's on upside down. But yeah, I agree the jumpsuit part was a little weird, but she needed something for the color. Like, I didn't dislike this. I thought it was kind of neat. It looked very sporty. And she was safe. Next up we have Kudzunai, and he made like this Pepto pink hoodie dress with with like color blocking skirt, and then it had feathers along the back of the sleeves, white racing striped zippers on the front. It had a group of like color patches on the skirt and then kind of on one hip, and then dangling behind it was ribbons and then little bits of fabric in a color. What do we think of this?
I don't know what to say. Like, I mean, one good thing I can say is that, like, I did appreciate the color, because you just don't see a lot of color usage like that.
It was a lot of color.
It was. And we're not used to seeing that. So that was cool. And, like, I definitely did get the African vibes that he was talking about. Like, I could see that in it. But it was just, I don't know. I could say a lot of things about it, but all I'll say is just that it was just too much. It was too much going on one thing. What'd you think?
Yeah, from the front it kind of looks like a grandma's robe that like the kids attacked with like construction paper and tape. And then the back is just a weird like conglomeration of just everything. It looks a lot like a piece, I believe her name was Sandhya, made a few seasons ago for like an American Girl challenge for like a little girl. And it was ugly then, and it's uglier now on like a grown woman. He just had too many ideas. Yeah. But not a single one of them translated well here. Yeah. Like, he had a lot of ideas, but he didn't even do one well because he was so busy trying to do 10 others. To me, it's just a frumpy mess of color. He was chosen for critique in the bottom. Next up, we have Claire. And she put down this red, I believe it's a jumpsuit. It might be a top and pants. With these really wide leg, flowy pant legs with an off-the-shoulder top that kind of had like these sheer, like, bubble arms, like, I don't know. And then the top was kind of this play on like sheer as well. And then, as was the theme this week because of movement, there was just some like red ribbon straps on around her wrists. That was very common this week. What do we think of Claire's dream in red?
I think she said it was a vision.
Oh, vision. Indeed.
Indeed. I just, you know how I am. I'm judgy over the twins.
Yeah, you've already written them off. They're your Cornelius this season.
I guess. Like, I'm just not impressed. I'm not impressed. This one, I mean, we haven't gotten to Sean's yet, but I liked Claire's more than Sean's if we're comparing the two. But I feel like we've already seen this exact pair of red pants. Margarita did them. Except hers was more of like a jumpsuit, but I feel like she did it better a couple episodes ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I didn't feel like it looked extremely well made either, and it was just whatever. It didn't impress me.
It's a little all over the place because the pants are like kind of pleated, so that they'll have more movement, but they're just a little too oversized. I think if she'd left the arms bare without those weird, like, bell sleeves that kind of just hang and droop, her model would have looked a little more streamlined, because as it is, the silhouette here is awful. It's really red. That's all I have to say about it. She was safe.
Yeah.
Next up is Ayana. She had immunity this week, so she put down this, like, black tunic with ruffles, and then pants with ruffles. And they had like a star pattern, and Tim gave her a critique that it was too much, like too heavy on that star theme, so she actually turned it inside out so it was black, and then she kind of painted in just a few stars and sparkles. And then it had a head covering over the hair, and then like a kind of really see-through sparkly little veil. What do we think of Ayana's?
I really liked it. This was one of my favorites this week. She's just really impressing me. Like, her stuff is very unique and just things I haven't seen before. And I don't know. I like that she did a little hand painting. Like, it was nothing crazy, you know, they were just stars. But still, like, it was a really cool effect. And I felt like it probably went with the movie pretty well. Because it was more of like a whimsical kind of piece. Which I imagine the movie probably is because it's a kid's movie. But I don't know. I liked it. What do you think?
I think it had too many ruffles. I think she got a little played up on, like, the movement aspect. I would have liked it better if it was a little, like, either... I would have removed the ruffles from the pants, because they don't make a lot of sense, and I think it would have been more streamlined. But I agree, I like the stuff she's been making. I think I've liked most of her pieces. And it's kind of a breath of fresh air to have a designer who's doing, like, these modest looks, because you don't really see that on Project Runway.
Yeah.
Especially now with Heidi Klum. She loves skin. She loves, like, high-cut things. So it's kind of nice, and a lot of designers are like, ooh, it's sexy, or like that's what sells. So it's kind of nice to see like sexy in a different way, or like just a little more, I don't know, I just kind of like that kind of modest feel. I wonder how many pieces she'll do this season. I think last episode she didn't have any kind of head covering, it was just very high necked. So how many that she'll kind of do that treatment to, we'll have to see, but yeah. She was just safe this week. Next up we have Sean, and she put down these like beige capri pants, kind of loose, like sweatpantsy, with a white wrap shirt, long sleeve this time, but otherwise it looked a lot like what she made in episode 1. And then again, it had some random white straps / ribbons hanging from one arm. What do we think of Sean's?
Once again, not impressed. I'm just not into it. Like, I don't know. It just, to me, it looks kind of sloppy. Like, it doesn't look like it took a ton of time to make. And it doesn't look like, I don't know. I'm over it. I'm over them.
I like the look of this, but I feel like I could go out and buy it right now, minus the straps. Like, I feel like this looks, to me, what I imagine, like, some, like, cool, but kind of, like, rich hip-hop dancers would wear in New York City. Like, this is what they would wear to, like, have a throwdown in an empty pool, or, like, go to class, you know, but they're gonna have, like, a dance breakdown after school. Like, it's cool, it fits the model well, like, the top and everything, it looks a lot like what she made in episode 1.
Yeah.
And it's not super unique, but she was safe this time. Next up, we have Aaron. He struggled a bit with his piece because his model has a really long torso. So in the workroom, he ended up having to remake the top of the jumpsuit. And he ended up making a navy jumpsuit that's like off one shoulder with a gray strap, and it's over the other shoulder. And then it has like, I believe it's gray. It might be like kind of a light purple arm like an offset ruffle on one arm and then on the opposite leg. So like from the knee down on one leg and from the elbow out on another arm to kind of look like a certain dance move that he kept doing. But his model never did it on the runway. I think that would have helped. And then this model also had a stripe on her face. She had a bright blue stripe from her bottom lip down her chin. So I guess that's like the new fashion that Avon's going to try to sell us is stripes on your face. Remember the stripes last year on the hair?
Yes.
Racing stripes hair spray paint. This time it's makeup. And that, of course, that makeup's super bold. The makeup they put on the models is never very bold. Maybe a lipstick here or there, but never the eyeshadow or like blush or anything. But my God, they got the stripe of color down. What do you think of Aaron's?
This was kind of strange. I do like his ideas, and like his point of view seems very unique. So I like to see what he creates, but I don't know. I don't get it. I didn't feel like the fabrics he chose like went together super well. Like the big sleeve and then the big pant leg. Like that, the fabric seems like kind of like thick.
It looked heavy.
Yeah, like...
I'm sure it was cotton, but it looked heavy.
Yeah. I feel like it would have been more successful if he'd chosen a different fabric. Because cotton's not going to move that well compared to other stuff. What do you think?
I didn't like it. It looked like a mess. It looked like a weird Jetsons dream with like that she put like 2 skirts on her body. He was safe. Next is Botany. She put down this like multicolored wrap top with a high-waisted kind of pant. And then she had this large square-shaped like cape that was kind of, the model held it up like wings. And then it had like iridescent fabric, mesh like panels, and then like the multicolored fabric. What did we think of this one?
I really like this. She has really stepped up her game since that first episode when she was about ready to go home. Like, this I thought was a really cool idea. Like, to me, this was the best one for movement. Because, like, she made, like, a freaking cape. Yeah. And obviously, the whole butterfly idea. Like, the butterfly idea is not super unique. But the way she did it, I thought was very cool. What do you think?
Yeah, this would have looked good on the Windway they had a few seasons ago. This would have looked great there. But before the model came out, she's behind, like, the light box kind of thing. And she held up the sleeves, or I'm sorry, the cape, and you could kind of see through that wings where she had like the different panels of fabric, and that looked really cool. Nina was like, I fell in love with it there. Like, I knew I was gonna like it at that moment. And the model kind of moved it around. Like, it had, the top wasn't super, it's just like a wrap bikini top, like not, that doesn't impress me, but I kind of liked the pants, and then it's all about the cape.
Yeah.
She was chosen for critique in the top. Next up, we had Kentaro, and he put down this, like, black, kind of slouchy tunic top with a long, tutu kind of inspired skirt, but it went, like, almost all the way down, but it was, like, see-through. And then black leg warmers. What do we think of this?
Not my favorite. His was, like, it was very simple, and it was just so literal. Like, I felt like that was a horrible choice to put the leg warmers on. Like... I don't know. That was way too literal. And then same thing, I guess, with like the tulle like skirt. It's like, okay. And the fact that it was all black, like, I don't.
This is his third piece that's like all black.
Yeah.
Or mostly black. Except for maybe his like the unconventional, but even that I felt was dark, I think. This looks to me like what a like ballet instructor would wear.
Yeah.
While the little, like, her students are wearing, like, little tutus, she's got, like, this long one on. And then he styled his model with, like, an updo, kind of like a bun. He was chosen for critique in the bottom. And then last up, we had Samantha. And she had her model come out with, like, this prim walk to the middle of the runway. And then she unzipped her skirt on, like, 2 panels. And then she did, like, this quote-unquote rockin' walk where she, like, stomped her feet with a little attitude. And she had a black leather dress with multiple kind of, like, brocading kind of at the top. And then, like, a lace neckline. And then, like, a more voluminous bottom that had, like, tulle on the sides, like, on the hips. And then it had those zippers. What did we think of Samantha's?
I thought this one was pretty cool. I mean, it like, I feel like the dress, like, the silhouette was nothing crazy out of the box. And, like, it didn't have a ton of movement.
Even when she unzipped it, like, nothing happened.
Yeah. So maybe that wasn't the best choice, but I felt like at least it was well made. And it did look kind of cool. What'd you think?
This looks like I could buy it at Hot Topic. That's not necessarily bad, but it's not exactly elevated fashion either.
Right.
She even said it herself, this is something she would wear to, like, a rock concert.
Yeah.
Okay, where's the dancing, I guess, if you're just gonna, like, mosh in a mosh pit, but she was just safe this time. So that means that our top 3 were Brandon, Margarita, and Botany, sorry. And it turned out Brandon was the winner. Do you agree?
I don't know. I mean, I like him as a person. He does seem very humble and, like, cool, but I don't know. I think for this challenge, I probably would have gone with Botany, or Ayana, because I like Ayana. I don't know. I really liked her look this week. But I don't know. I'm not torn up about it. We're only in the 3rd episode, so my emotions aren't super strong yet.
I feel like Brandon's was a little more unique.
Yeah.
At least compared to here. I've seen some stuff like Botany's, so. Yeah, I was fine with it. So that meant that Margarita and Botany were safe. I'm just glad Margarita didn't win, okay, y'all?
Yeah, I agree.
And then the bottom was Deontay, Kudzunai, and Kentaro. And Kentaro turned out to be safe. So then it was between Deontay and Kudzunai, and it turned out that Kudzunai went home. Did we agree with that?
I do. I mean, I don't know. It was just, both pieces were disasters in their own ways.
Yeah.
But I did feel like Kudzunai's outweighed.
It had way
Deontay's,
more wrong with it.
Yeah, in this case. So.
All right, so then we got a little sneak peek into next week, and I'll get to that in a minute. We'll do our quotes of the week, and then we'll wrap up because it is hot in this car. We truly film in a Toyota RAV, and we can't have it on for air conditioning. We can't have the windows down because we're in a park, and there's people driving by and geese in the lake. So we blood, sweat, and tears into this podcast for you guys.
We make it work.
This is a make it work moment.
Yeah.
So I got a few quotes that we'll just kind of blast through. While they were in mood, Tim, was like, hello, Swatch. And then he says, when they're leaving, he's like, bye, Swatch. And Swatch was sleeping, like, crammed up against, like a metal girder in, like, the wall. And Tim's like, he's like a baked potato. Which I think accurately describes a Boston Terrier most of the time, which is what Swatch
hilarious.
is. Next up, when they were going through Brandon's The Zen Zone, he's, like, describing it and, like, kind of going through it. And then we just cut to Kenya, who had, like, this sassy, like, which that's how I felt about it. Like, the way the show treated it. Like, I have nothing against Brandon Zenny now and working on something. But, like, the, like, kind of, like, quasi, like, Indian music with, like, these ripple patterns. It's a little, I don't know. I didn't like that. So I just liked her, like,
Yep.
And then Aaron got a little moment there where he was struggling because he had to remake his jumpsuit to be bigger for his model, and someone was like, how's it going over there? He was like, oh, I'm having a great time, man. I'm just trying not to die. Which I was like, that's so oddly optimistic, but also very, like, try not to die. And then last quote this week is Heidi. When critiquing some of the pieces, she was like, this is Project Runway. This is supposed to be fashion. So, and I think what she meant by that is some people were just putting down, like, Sean's look. That's not high fashion.
Yeah.
Like, if it looks like I could buy it at JCPenney or a store in the mall where we live,
right,
not high fashion. We don't have high fashion stores around here.
Yeah.
So that, that's why she liked Brandon's piece so much and some of the other pieces, because this is a high fashion design competition. There are occasionally challenges where it needs to be something that could be commercialized, but I feel like in most recent seasons, they've really been pushing that commercial kind of feel. So it's nice that this season we're having more callbacks to be like high fashion. Push the design. Do something different. Don't just make something that we could, sell at a store.
Right.
So next week, it looks like they're going to be sleeping on the Empire State Building.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure of the challenge, but Heidi is in the workroom, so I'm guessing it's maybe something for Heidi Klum, swimwear or intimates or something like that. So I love when Heidi's in the workroom because her personality is just amazing in the workroom. She's like, I want it sexy, or like, what does this look like? So it's fun to see her and Tim kind of play off each other.
Yeah, you're gonna have a long list of quotes for next week.
I have a feeling the quote of the week will be very important. Yes. So, do you have any closing statements?
I don't. This is it's a hot one today.
It's a hot. People. I am literally, my garment today is now sweat.
Yep.
So that's it for us. Just wanted to remind you guys that you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Runway. Yep. Haven't really mentioned that this year, but we are active on those. So go out and follow us there and get some fun memes from us and also some retweets and stuff like that. So go ahead and follow us there. But otherwise, we'll see you next week.